Bart saw a monstrous creature damaging the school bus, and he panicked because the sight reminded him of a dream he once had. In the dream, the school bus went out of control and he died in the crash. Determined to prevent that from happening, he ran to tell Otto, but Otto didn't see anything at all.
No problemo, Bart, dude. I'll get rid of it.
No! Oh no, I just made my last paint.
Bart sat back down, but when he looked out the window, the creature was still there, and it was damaging the bus's cables. He warned everyone.
There's a monster on the side of the bus!
But nobody believed him, and they all thought he was lying.
Hey, who's driving the bus?
At that moment, Principal Skinner walked over. He told Bart to follow the rules, and then pulled the curtain shut. But Bart was still terrified. He couldn't resist pulling the curtain back open. It was Willie. Bart's paranoia started to frighten his friends. Then, he felt something beneath his feet. There, he discovered that the creature was loosening the bolts on the wheels. It was almost about to remove a wheel completely. Bart screamed in terror. At that moment, Skinner and Willie stopped him and tied him up. With help from his friends, Bart managed to break free from the ropes. He found an emergency flare. He opened the window and prepared to fire it. At the last second, he successfully launched the flare directly at the creature. The monster was blasted away and eventually crashed into Flanders' car. Flanders didn't notice anything unusual. He covered the creature with a blanket and decided to adopt it. When the school bus arrived at school, everyone was shocked. They saw the terrible condition the bus was in. Only then did they realize that Bart had been telling the truth all along. But even so, they still sent him to a mental institution. While being transported there, Bart finally breathed a sigh of relief. But to his surprise, the creature suddenly appeared again, and this time it brought a little gift. Homer used a single cornflake to make Lisa a fancy dinner. He traded the cornflake for a tea bag. He brewed 3 cups of tea and then traded them for a salad and some cookies. He placed the pizza on a chessboard and then used a napkin, folding it into a rose. When Lisa saw everything, she was deeply touched and hugged Homer. Mr. Burns noticed that Homer was a good father, so he decided to hire him to take care of a princess. Because the princess wanted to go out and have fun, Homer took her to Moe's tavern. But Moe seemed to have a strong dislike toward her. It turned out that someone had once pretended to be a member of the royal family and tricked Moe out of his money. But because of the princess's down-to-earth attitude, Moe began to change his opinion of her. They had a great conversation. The next day, Moe rode his motorcycle and took the princess around the entire city. They played prize machines, tasted all kinds of local special foods, and even visited the famous tire mountain. Just then, Homer suddenly popped out from a pile of tires, ready to take the princess back to the hotel. It turned out that Homer had been unable to find the princess, so he decided to call the police. But the police arrested him instead to avoid being discovered. Homer even pretended to be the princess. Now that he had found the princess, he told her she had to return with him immediately. At that moment, Moe suggested running away with the princess, but the princess refused because she didn't want to disappoint her father. Before they said goodbye, she kissed Moe on the forehead, but at that exact moment, a photographer captured the scene. When the king was about to sign an important agreement, he saw the picture and immediately became furious. He believed that his daughter had fallen in love with a nobody. At that moment, the princess explained,
I think he is a sweet, sweet man. But when I kissed him on the forehead, it was not romantic. More like when Snow White kissed Dobby.
At first, the king didn't believe her, but Homer's words convinced him to trust the princess.
And because you can't strangle a girl.
That makes sense.
Hey, Lisa, I bet I could jump in the swimming pool from here.
Bart, that would be the stupidest thing you ever did.
No, the stupidest thing would be doing it backwards. Cowab!
Moments later, the entire family rushed to the hospital. Bart had fallen into a coma. Now, he was in a vegetative state. Homer didn't seem too bothered by it. Marge tried using Bart's favorite bicycle to bring him back to consciousness, but nothing worked. The failed attempt left Marge heartbroken. The doctor suggested that the family buy a robot to replace Bart. The very next day, a robot named David arrived. The delivery man helped activate him.
Ow! Mom, that hurt!
Instantly, Marge felt her maternal instincts kick into overdrive, but Homer wanted to put the robot through a quality test right away.
Wow! The windpipe is incredibly responsive!
David not only handled all the household chores, but also got along perfectly with the neighbors. Meanwhile, in his hospital bed, Bart's finger twitched. Then, he suddenly woke up from his coma. He had no idea what had happened to him, so he quietly made his way back home. At that moment, David was preparing breakfast for Homer, and Homer proudly declared that David was the best son he could ever ask for. Bart arrived home just in time to hear every word. With only a few simple gestures, David could instantly cheer Marge up. Even Homer began handing over his personal belongings to him. Although Bart tried his best to become a better son, he simply couldn't compete with David. The next day at school, Bart earned applause from his classmates with his classic milk through the nose trick, but David went one step further and made ice cream for the entire class. When Bart felt that he was being treated unfairly, the robot even prepared a special ice cream just for him. David quickly became everyone's favorite student, but Bart couldn't stand him. Hoping to keep the peace between them, Homer came up with a plan to avoid any future trouble.
We're still going to the toy store, right?
Bart felt like he already had one foot in the grave. His friends and family stayed by his side with heavy hearts. else. All Bart wanted was a piece of cake, just one piece, but Lisa refused to give it to him, saying it was for her teacher. Bart mocked Lisa for being a teacher's pet, but Homer said Lisa hadn't done anything wrong. Lisa also said that she simply liked her teacher. Soon, the school bus arrived. Bart started complaining to Otto about what Lisa had done, but Lisa shared the cake with Otto instead. That made Bart furious. He felt like Lisa didn't care about him. When they got to school, Lisa shared the cake with her friends. Just then, a school bully showed up and snatched all the cake away. Bart immediately stood up, furious that his sister had been bullied. He burned with anger. He glared at the bully and demanded that he give the cake back, but the bully refused and humiliated Bart in front of everyone. His anger completely took over. Bart rushed forward and started fighting him, but the person he had picked a fight with was part of Nelson's gang. Then, Nelson threatened him in front of everyone. From that moment on, Bart felt like he could already see his own death. He began imagining his final goodbye. His friends and family looked at him with sorrow in their eyes. After school, Bart suffered the worst beating of his life. It was something he would never forget. A painful and humiliating experience. He could barely even crawl, but he still managed to make it home.
What happened to you? Let's just say I paid the inevitable price for helping out my sister.
That all of this happened because he got involved in something he shouldn't have. Just then, Homer showed up. Bart instantly broke down, with tears in his eyes. He asked his father for help. Bart told Homer everything that had happened. Homer took Bart with him, not to lecture him, but to teach him how to protect himself. The next day, that group showed up again, but this time, Bart didn't run away. Instead, he chose to face them head on. Bob wrote, "Bart must disappear," on the wall. Then, he deliberately swallowed a ballpoint pen. He stabbed one prison guard with the pen, then used a stun gun to take down another guard. He grabbed the keys and successfully escaped from prison. When Bob appeared in front of Maggie, she was terrified. Homer quickly shut the window, keeping Bob outside. Bob explained that he was the real Walter.
If you're the real Walter, who's taking our sons in a baseball game right now?
Earlier, the man posing as Walter invited Bart to a baseball game. After Marge agreed, they left together. When they arrived at the stadium, Walter never parked the car because he was actually Bob. By then, Bart was already sitting in the car. The truth was, Walter was Bob's new cellmate. Since Walter had only committed a minor crime, he was about to be released on parole. While Walter was asleep, Bob injected him with a sedative. Walter was then placed on an operating table. Bob first cut off Walter's face, then he picked up a knife and cut off his own face. After that, he transplanted Walter's face onto himself. In the end, Bob successfully disguised himself as Walter and was released from prison. Now there was only one final step: kill Bart. Later, Bob took Bart to the point where 5 states meet because he believed that if he killed Bart there, he wouldn't be prosecuted under any state's laws. He stood in the first state and fired the gun from the second state. The bullet would pass through the third state, hit Bart in the fourth state, and leave the body to fall in the fifth state. According to his plan, the entire sequence would not violate the laws of any state. Just as Bob raised his gun and was about to fire, Bart suddenly jumped to another spot. At that moment, Walter arrived just in time and snatched the gun from Bob's hand, but he was no match for Bob, and the gun was quickly taken back. Just as Bob was about to pull the trigger, the Springfield police finally arrived. Police officers from the other 4 states also arrived at the scene at the same time. Law enforcement from all 5 states surrounded him from every direction. In the end, Bob's plan to murder Bart completely failed. Bob was arrested once again.